Hey everybody, how are we? Just getting started here. Give me just a second. And anyhow, this is the blank we're going to do live. Let me get over here on the camera. This blank was sent to us by Brian Nineman. Uh, he makes these segmented blanks. They're really cool. So I'm not actually sure. I think this is maybe Paducah, but I'm not positive. Uh, Maybe he can comment. Hey Brian, how are you? Anyhow, we're going to get started. This is the blank we're going to do tonight or today. I haven't figured out a shape for it yet. I'm kind of going to wing it. Um, we're going to see if we can come out with a nice stopper out of it, though. Like I was saying, Brian Nineman uh, makes these segmented blanks and sells them. So if you're interested in them, reach out to him. He's an awesome guy, and he makes them in all different sizes, from pin blanks up, I think, to even pepper mills, I believe. So pretty cool stuff. I drill everything on my lathe. If you don't have a way to do this on your lathe, you could drill it on your drill press, but you wouldn't be able to face off the side to make sure it's parallel real well. So that could cause issues. So this is really the desired way for me. And I just have a Jacobs chuck that's a number 2 MT that fits my lathe here. And this is a 5/16 bit that I use for specifically for bottle stoppers. You can get bottle stopper mandrels that are actual taps as well. Some people like them. This is a tap, and you could use it. It has a relief cut in it there if you look on the upper camera. But you really have to do a lot of in and out with it to get that to cut nicely. I don't prefer it. I prefer to drill it. If you guys have questions along the way, definitely shout them out so we can get them answered. That's pretty close as we go, so we're not having to go back. I drill at about 500 RPM. Another little trick here, a lot of people have issues with the drill bit wandering and ovaling out the hole, especially on pin blanks. One trick here is right here with your tailstock, your quill lock, is to don't leave it wide open. You can see I have a little bit of play here when it's wide open. If I tighten this down to where it's just snug, it takes most of that play out, and it'll still allow me to advance this in and out. And that'll help you with your bit wandering around in your play. Let your bit find center. There it's drilled. So you can see that I have it marked on here for depth, and you can see that I'm a good 1/4 inch past my end of my my mandrel here threads, and that's because these taps that I'm going to use, if you can see on the camera above, it doesn't start cutting threads really for that good 1/4 of an inch. So I need that hole to be in there deeper. I tap right on my lathe again. One thing I didn't do here that we should back up and do real quick before we tap this is we want to come in here and face this off flat. so that we're square with our hole. And then we know we are. If I was off just a little bit either way here, this won't be square. So coming in here right now with this complete with your I use a bowl gouge fingernail grind with it completely closed or almost, and I just face that off till it's completely flat, and that'll make it parallel with your hole. We can check it then and make sure that we're flat or concave just a little bit. And it is flat. Okay. Everybody follow me so far? Anyhow, hopefully you do. So now we're going to go ahead and tap it. And I do this with all my bottle stoppers, so it doesn't matter whether it's a hybrid blank, a resin blank, a wood blank, stabilized blank, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to snug this up here, and then we're just going to take a turn, snug, turn, snug, turn, snug up the tailstock, turn, snug up the tailstock. This helps keep it all straight. Make sure I get started straight, and it'll continue straight. And it just bottomed out. You can feel it when it bottoms out, it'll get tight. So now we can back this off. And then we can go ahead and unthread it. We can blow it out. So what I do now is unthread my chuck. Hopefully you guys can see. Yeah, you can. We're going to set it down. And I take thin CA, regular super glue, thin super glue, and I drizzle it on the threads. Make sure I coat the threads good, very well. Wipe all the excess off the bottom, and then I give it a couple squirts of activator. So that just stiffened all the threads up. Let that set just a minute. And will allow us to recut them and have a nice clean, some nice clean strong threads. Give it another spray or two, and then we're going to recut them again. I want to make sure that I get them nice and cut clean and have strong threads. Some woods are softer than others, and will break out a lot easier. Let's give that just a minute, and we'll talk about this. So if you're doing a real soft wood as well, or material, you can use these. Find a camera up top. There we are. So these are a threaded insert, and you drill the hole oversized, put it on your mandrel, press it in with a drop of epoxy or CA, thick CA on it. to hold it in. And that'll be your alternative for softer materials. They work great, especially if you're doing burl. A lot of times can be fairly brittle and want to break out. And if I was doing a kitchenware handle where I'm going to be unscrewing it and screwing it, or somebody's going to be a lot of time where they're unscrewing it to take it apart to clean it, then that's a good alternative. Help keep them from stripping out these threads. Now we're cutting again. All right. Okay. Well, the debris off the cap. I'm ready for the next one. Okay. So now we've got all that done. We've got it faced off so that we're square to the hole. That'll ensure that we sit nice and flat on our bottle stopper. And now we can go ahead and take it out of our chuck. Thread our bottle stopper mandrel on. Okay. And the upper camera needs to be adjusted. Wrong way. Okay. And now we can thread our bottle stopper on the mandrel. Get a little snug down. Bring our live center up just to hold it, and we can start shaping. Turn it round like it is here, and then I can determine by the figure that's in the piece of wood kind of what I want my shape to be. And then we can start creating and making all our cuts go toward that shape now. So thanks, Ed. We're liking it. So in this, I've kind of decided, I think that I'm going to do a small vase shape. It's going to be a long, tall vase. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to shoot for. The one thing I do want to check now is I want to pick a stopper out that we're going to use with it, so that I can check the shape, the size, for how small I can go here, because not all these are the same dimension. It's like a bushing there. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I like Ruth Niles stoppers. These are all from her. They're just really good quality stoppers. I think this shape would look good on there. Let's do it. If you guys and gals have never done stoppers, they come in different shapes. Go to her website, ruthniles.bottlestopper.com, I think it is. Here's bottle openers. And then there's different styles of stoppers, including whiskey bottle stoppers that are a little bit bigger and for bigger bottles. There's all kinds of them that you can get now in all kinds of different styles. I find that I really like bottle stoppers that, what do I do with that one? That have a flat bottom on them, so that they'll stand up. So you don't need a bottle stopper holder of any kind or a bottle to put them in. They'll stand up on a counter on their own. And start shaping it well. I can tell you right now that we need to take a time out and go ahead and go over here and quickly touch this up and sharpen it. This is one of my favorite tools. For a lot of different things. I use it as a bowl gouge with a fingernail grind. It comes from Doug Thompson Tools. And very versatile. It's more than a bowl gouge. I probably have it in my hand 50% of the time, if not more. Give me just a second, we'll touch it up here. Now I can start again. I'm liking this so far. Go ahead and make this look more hollow. To do that, I'm going to put my Jacob chuck back in. And I'm going to use a little bit smaller bit maybe, or much nicer. I don't want to go too deep or we'll hit our bottom. I've drilled these out all the way before to begin with my first drilling. And it works, and it works okay if you know you're doing a hollow form. The problem with it is then you have your bottle stopper, and the threading on the top is silver. So then you need to paint the top of this black or something to not see it. Otherwise, you see silver down in there, and it kind of makes it more obvious then that you're not hollowed out all the way, because it kind of reflects and you can see it's a straight hole. So I try not to go all the way through typically. So now we are to, especially with a longer one, a longer blank, the longer we are here, the more we don't want to, without our tailstock up, we have no support. So right now this side to side is real easy to get a lot of movement and vibration. And if you do, you're going to wind up breaking it out down here and breaking the threads. So we have to be real gentle with whatever cuts we do. And all the cuts we do, we want to be pushing the direction into our headstock. So we're going to come in right here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Yeah, camera on the top you can, looks like. We're going to come in right here with this nice and closed, and we're just going to take light cuts. Start rounding this over. If I open this tool up, I'm going to get aggressive and I'm going to get a catch. The noise you hear there means I'm getting a little bit too aggressive and it's yelling at me. It's saying, don't do that. This is not good. Too much pressure. And that's where you're going to get in trouble and break it out. So listen to that noise. If you hear that noise, back your pressure off some. I'm going to switch to a detail gouge here, which is just a little bit smaller. See if this light helps you guys or hurts you. We're going to come in here. That's what I didn't want to do. Like a line I got to get rid of. This long stopper, I'm getting a lot of vibration. The other option was we can try to cut it with a little smaller tool. Pressure on it. So we're going to bring the tailstock back up just loosely. And we'll burn another accent line in there. And as soon as I find my wire, I'll find a smaller one here. Let's see if that little ridge is in there deep enough to catch this, and it is. We're going to burn one right there. I think that would be a neat little accent line. We're going to go lay speed up. So here I don't have tool marks. I start typically at 220 or 320, 280, 260, whatever. If you have tool marks, then you're going to need to drop down to 120 or so and work your tool marks out. I sand about 1200 RPM or less. The more you learn to turn and keep your tool sharp and make good cuts, the less time you spend sanding, the more time you're going to enjoy turning, the more fun turning becomes. So if you're not getting nice no tool mark cuts, change your cuts or try to, and figure out how to get rid of them tool marks would be my advice, because over time you learn that sanding is not fun. Part of it, but it's not as fun, so limiting your time sanding is desirable. And when you start sanding, you can see as well, I've got a shiny spot right there. There's a line developing, which means that's a tool mark. And I have to sand through that to get rid of it now, or I have to go back and recut that, which would be an option if it's too bad. Or I could jump up and grit. Still have this one line right here, this tore grain. We're getting it though. We have to start thinking about what we're going to do for a finish on this. If I'm doing a hybrid blank or stabilized wood, then I typically don't do any finish at all. I just would polish it all the way out with Zona paper and wet sanding. And then I would buff it out on a Carnauba wax wheel, cotton wheel. And that's my favorite. But this is not stabilized. So we need to think about what we want to do for a finish on it. You can do an oil finish and leave it like a natural patina or natural, what's the right word? Luster, natural luster. Or we could do like a friction polish. We could do a CA finish, but with CA, you have to worry about high spots. Sanding, burning through the CA will, when you're sanding and you're polishing the CA, your high spots will sand more than the rest of the blank will, and you wind up burning through on the corners. So I don't like CA for bottle stoppers, or for that reason. Another option is, if we want a shiny finish, would be to do, I use a lot of Qualisol lacquer, so sanding or sealing lacquer, and I like it a lot. You can put it on and then it flashes off right away, and you can put it on again, keep recoating it until you build up a few layers of it. And then if you let it set 24 hours or 12 hours and really cure, you can come back and polish it out to a really super shiny surface, just like a lacquer. So this was just hitting it with some 220. This bloodwood, I can tell already, would polish out pretty nicely. So Brian's picked a nice material. to work with. It's a lot. It's a little bit of an oily material. It looks like, so it would polish out pretty easily if we wanted to just continue. So this was 220 grit. Actually, this was 400. So we started at 400. That's why it's taking me a little bit longer here. So you can see if you look real closely, I don't know if you can tell it in the camera above, there's a little bit of grain lines here from sanding. So we're just going to go back and hand sand him with the grain to get rid of any of those radial lines. It's the last step in this grit before we move to the next grit or we apply a finish. Okay, and I think we can probably blow this off. And I'm seeing a nice surface that we could go ahead and apply a finish to. So we will. In this case, I'm going to use Qualisol lacquer. So I have a small container that I keep it in. Yeah, you could do linseed oil too. Or Mahoney's walnut oil. That would be more of a natural surface that you could easily maintain, which is very desirable for kitchen items. You know, a lacquer, over time, it could wear through. This is what I'm talking about when I say Qualisol lacquer. I don't think you can buy Belin products anymore. It's Mohawk brand is now the brand. It's a padding lacquer, so but I keep it in a smaller bottle because it has a lacquer thinner in it, and I don't want it to. The more you open the bottle, the more it flashes off. So I'm trying to keep it from diluting itself. Let me find a little rag to apply this with here. I do typically use a cloth, which is kind of a no-no on a lathe. But I use a piece that's that big, so it's going to yank it out of my hand and not get caught up in it. We can go ahead and apply the first coat or two. Right here on the lathe. With it dry. Boy, that's going to be pretty. This bloodwood is really absorbing it. Pretty, pretty. You can see it absorbs right in and it flashes off really quick. The more coats we apply, the shinier the surface becomes. The more it absorbs in, it seals the fibers over, and it'll start building a coat on the outside. then usually the last thing I do is I'll wait till tomorrow, and then I would, if I want it shinier than what it is like right now, then I could take it and buff it out on a Beal buffing system. Gotta get some down in that hole. It's an awesome blank, Brian. Nice job on it, buddy. I know he makes these blanks for duck or calls as well. So I think they're 1.5 inches by 6 or 2 by 6 or something. I've seen some of his on some of the call pages, some of them made with him. They're pretty awesome. So reach out to Brian if you're interested in segmented blanks like these. All right. And make sure you cap your bottle back up, because this, like I said, it has lacquer thinner that'll evaporate, and it's cut. It's basically, I think, is all it is. Really is a rubbing lacquer with that's cut about halfway with lacquer thinner. That's what I think, but not positive on that. All right, that one's that. Let's let that just set just a second. We can turn on this. Another option would be right now. I could use a cotton wheel and just rub it against it, help polish it out. I just find that if I'm going to polish the lacquer, it's best to let it set and really fully cure, because then you don't burn through it. It's nice and dry as it is. And I don't think I would even polish this. I like the luster of it as it is. So let's see if we can get her off of here and put it on a stopper now. Yeah, no problem. We'll blow it off and we'll hold it up to camera. Pretty cool stuff. Very nice. Very, very nice. Brian, nice full job on the blank. Really like it. It's just gorgeous. I'll post some pictures on our website or on Burroughs Blanks and More, both here in a little while of it. And pretty cool stuff. Thanks again, Brian, for an awesome blank. Much appreciated. You guys look up Brian Nine. He's on Burroughs Blanks and More. He's on some of the other Facebook pages. And if you're looking for one of these blanks, and he'll hook you up for sure. So hope you all can come back and join us for our next turning here in a little while. We'll talk to you soon. Go have some lunch. Bye.